It's Andy Campbell! It's in! Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero! A superhero! Breakthrough! It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City!
Hey guys, I'm Cy and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. This is episode number 52. Show is available live on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and of course the channel full of lots of great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. You can find the links to all our social media pages, both for the show and the channel, in the description below and in the closing credits. And of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, best way to support us. And you can get the audio versions the following day on all your favourite podcast radio apps and alike. And just to also thank Black Diamond Sports for sponsoring and helping the show. They, of course, have a global sports agency featuring top stars in various sports from around the world. And also a big thank you to Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring today's show, which is, of course, the Andy Campbell Football Show. And here's a little word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thank you to Darren and Bespoke. They specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and of course sports cover. So with no further ado, let's introduce my co-host as usual, the goal collector, the fox in the box, still the king of the Millennium Stadium. It is ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. How are you, mate?
Good evening, mate. Yeah, I'm very well. Really looking forward to this one. This has been a long time coming. Really pleased to have the person next to me on the show. Give me one of the, well, probably if not the best moments in my career. Helped me along the way. But before I start, can I just give a shout out to Brad Hicks? We just had a message that he's been rushed into hospital, so I know he's been watching the show. So hope everything works out for you, Brad, and get well soon.
Indeed, second that. And of course, our guest tonight has made over 630 appearances at the very top of the football world. A former England international, played for clubs such as Liverpool, Leicester, Aston Villa, Wigan, Bolton, Birmingham City and Newcastle Jets. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Emile Heskey to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, mate. It's as I say, it's been a long time coming. We've been wanting you to come on for quite a long time, mate. So this is an absolute privilege, and can't wait to talk about your career, mate. Because it's been from obviously someone who got lucky enough to play with you. I've seen firsthand how good you were, but you know what I mean, to play against you like I did as well. It was probably the good and the bad, because you were a proper handful for every defender, I think, whoever came across you.
Thank you.
So, Emile, what we like to do just before we get into the stories of the week and talk about your career is we do something called the Magnificent Seven, which is basically a way for our viewers to get to know you and your tastes, and just basically say the first thing which comes to mind. So, okay. Emile Heskey, the Magnificent Seven. Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh, Jesus. Ronaldo.
Doesn't get any easier, Em. Doesn't get any easier than this, by the way. This is difficult. It's about mind-blowing.
Okay, go on then.
Robbie Fowler or Michael Owen?
Michael Owen.
Favourite TV show?
Wow. I don't know. Would have to say EastEnders.
Oof, that's a good one. That's an interesting one. I used to watch that in the pub. I did.
Exactly. But I'm thinking now we don't watch really much apart from Sky Sports News.
No.
You must have the best pub in the world, by the way, to watch that in your pub. That's an amazing pub.
I used to work there.
It's a proper old school pub, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. I can't start talking about the Ryder Arms when I'll be here all night. Angriest teammate.
Neil Lennon.
Best roommate.
Peggy Arfek said.
Worst trainer.
Oh, probably Steve Guppy. He got a yellow jersey most weeks.
Good player as well, though. No, good player on his day, by the way. Turned it on on Saturday.
And finally, the best manager you've played under.
Can I say two, or just have to say?
Yeah, you could say two.
I liked obviously Martin O'Neill and Gerald Houllier got the best out of me, so I'll say them two.
How good was Martin O'Neill? You know me, obviously give you your debut at Leicester. So how good was he?
Yeah, he was phenomenal. The thing with Martin, he didn't do too much of the coaching, but he did obviously the management side of things and getting the players ready and getting the players motivated and getting them in the right frame of mind. And he was wonderful with that sort of stuff, and got the best out of us. Because you got to remember, we went to cup finals in 4 years.
Listen, we're going to talk about that later on. Because obviously you broke my heart, but we'll talk about that later on. But as you said that point though, you know that you weren't a fashionable side, you weren't fashionable players. No. You know, I'm not on about you, but I'm probably on about some of the other players, the Neil Lennons, the Muzzy Izzets, the Steve Guppys, Steve Claridge, Tony Cotty, etc. You know, but I agree. You got the best out of those type of players, and you know what I mean. It was never an easy game going to Filbert Street. It was never an easy game when you came away from home. But you just seemed to get the right tactics at the right time. You played to your strengths. Set pieces were a huge thing with Elliot. I remember, you know, that he was a massive player in that team. But you know what I mean. There was players with full of energy, full of quality. Don't forget that, because you know what I mean. And then they had a European adventure, which you know what I mean. I know Leicester had a little bit of success since you left by winning the Premier League, but I think that sometimes that success what you guys had gets forgotten about a little bit, you know what I mean, with the success that the recent team had.
Yeah, I think sometimes it does, but from the fans that are of that generation, no, it doesn't, because again, that generation was something that was amazing, because again, we didn't have the stadium, we didn't have all that, but we made it all our own. And we excited teams and going to cup finals. You got to remember coming up from what is the Championship now, which would have been Division 1, and then coming into the Premier League, you're generally classed as the one who's going to go straight back down. We went on to win a cup and stay top off the table in a team that, like you're saying, wasn't really fashionable.
No,
it wasn't favoured at all, you know. And we would take the likes of Tony Cotty at 35 and give us 2 years of real good playing and win trophies. Steve Claridge as well.
Yeah. Tell people what it was like to play at Filbert Street, because I remember I played one of my first ever reserve games at Filbert Street, and it was an experience in itself, because obviously it's a big stadium, but it had cheerleaders down the sides. Every time the ball went out for a throw-in or a corner, the cheerleaders would start dancing, music would come on, and I always thought that was how football was played. So every time a corner went in, when I made my first team debut and it went out for a corner, there was no cheerleaders, there was no music, and I was a little bit like, what? I want to go back to Filbert Street, because I enjoyed that. It got me going a little bit. There was something always going on, and it just it was a big letdown.
We had a lot of fun, especially when it came to reserve team games, and I don't think anyone else did that.
No, not what I saw. No, but it was amazing. Yeah,
so we had you're saying cheerleader. Do you know we had a full stadium, Man U versus Leicester reserves?
Did you?
A full stadium. Usually we open up like one side, the main stand or something like that. We had to open up the whole stadium. We had a full stadium for a reserve team game, and it was just good. It was just a great atmosphere, and it was good. You know what it did as well? It put you in the right frame and understood what it meant to go into first team football as well.
Yeah, well, when you say that now, though, I think a lot of players, though, they don't get that link, and you know what I mean. They go for under 23 football in in a safe environment with no stadium, basically. You know what I mean? They're just playing behind closed doors with a fence around them, and it doesn't really get you ready for that first team debut. Yes, it might be empty, but you still treat as a proper player. You warm up on the pitch. It's just done the right way, and I think a lot of teams probably relied years ago on the Pontins League to get players ready for first team football, and you know what I mean, nowadays they don't get that opportunity, unfortunately. But
yeah, it's a difficult one. It's because again, I think the under-23s was brought in because again we were losing a lot of players from that little age gap from 18s to say 23s or 21, and they obviously extended the actual age group because they thought that would make it easier for people to get to make that transition. But in essence, it's not. It's just made it worse, to be honest with you, because you've gone from 18, and if you're not ready at 18, you might be able to go into, say, on a League 1 or League 2 team. But now you've come into 23, and you're still not quite ready, and you've got to go into a League 1, League 2, and sometimes fall out system. I think a lot of these lads need first team football early on.
So if you were advising a young Emile Heskey again, though, you know what I mean, and you weren't playing, you hadn't made your debut, 17, 18, 19, 20, what would you advise somebody that age then? Because I'm at a similar mindset than you, that you might as well go and drop down a level or two and go and play men's football, go and play competitive football. So what would you advise a young Emile Heskey to do then?
Well, the thing is, if you're seeing your pathway not there or blocked, at some stage you've got to open that pathway up, and you can't leave it till 20 because you've lost 2 years already, in my eyes.
Totally agree.
You've got I might play for England and be at a Premier League club. You might be playing not for England but being at a League 2 club or a League 1 club, but you're playing first team football at 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm playing for England at 17, 18, 19, 20 but no first team experience. When it comes to a first team manager, who they're going to look at? They're not going to look at me. They're going to look at you because you've already been in that environment. They know that you can cope with that environment of playing first team football, being up against the pressures that come with the first team football. I haven't had that.
Yeah, we had the same conversation with Jonathan Greenan, obviously Man United, that he started at York City. He was so happy with his progression, as in started at a lesser league, so to speak, but then got his opportunity because he played in the first team, whereas you'd probably prefer that than start at a Leicester City, Man City, even Middlesbrough, and drop down, because the drop at the minute is drastic and a big drop for a lot of players, and some don't recover, unfortunately, and there's someone else taking place.
But then is there a case for the mental side of that, where you're mentally getting them prepared for it's going to be a big drop, but if you put the physical work in, you will get back up, because again you're technically you should probably stand a little bit ahead of others.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've had this debate on here about should there be more put in place then for players who do drop out of the game, to give them an opportunity to step back up, and a platform more than anything. You know that nobody, you know yourself and I know myself, that there's nothing will get you ready for packing and playing football. 1 minute you're in a changing room and you're professional footballer, the next minute you're not, and how you get yourself around that fact is just, it's mind blowing, really. You know what I mean? That's the biggest question that probably people throw at me, that how did you adapt? And I probably don't think I did or have, or I think, you know what I mean, that you're just getting a little bubble and you get, you know, a new way of living, thinking, and get on with it, because nothing can ever take you back to that changing room banter, changing room environment, nerves of match day, excitement of scoring a goal. That will never happen again unless you. No. Well, it never happened again, basically.
Do you think there's enough support for either players who retire through age and naturally finish their careers, but also like young players who perhaps do come out of the system after they finished, 18, 19, they get dropped? Do you think there's enough support from whether it's the PFA or the FA or whoever?
If I'm honest with you, there's things in place, but I don't think they're proactive enough. Okay. I think there's plenty of stuff in place by the PFA. I don't know what the FA do, but I know that the PFA do quite a bit.
PFA are excellent.
But again, you have to go to the PFA, and this is one of the toughest things for players to do, is to accept that they need help somewhere. They want you to come to them, and then they will open up and say, yeah, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. But again, you've got to be a bit more proactive and understand that there's players out there that possibly need help but don't even know that they need it at this moment in time.
Well, I was in a similar situation, that when I packed in, that I was lost for probably 6 months, and somebody passed my details on to Andy Barlow and at the PFA, and Andy rang me and sat down with me and told me what I should be doing, and basically just to explain that there's a life outside of football and things, and that's good. Do I believe they could do more, Si? I do, but I'm not picking out individuals. I'm just thinking as an organisation, it's a huge organisation, and I think Em said there about being proactive, and being proactive could mean that someone's job is to notice and have a database of players' emails, address, numbers, and ringing them straight away when they come out of football, picking up the phone and just to be another voice and just be some support, because lads might have an agent, but agents sometimes drop players straight away when they get released, and you're not worth anything to somebody. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult one, and I do feel really sorry for people who take it negatively. Really, you know what I mean? I don't have anything to fall back on. Sometimes it's hard. It is hard.
I've always wondered though whether that could be a way for maybe ex-players who are struggling with that transition, is to maybe could the FA or other similar organisations employ ex-players who've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, they know what it's like to play at the top level, but they also know what it's like to finish. Could they utilise that experience, and use those players in that role? So when they finish their career, they then go and help other players who are finishing their career and young players who are being dropped out of the game, maybe. Because it's quite a unique experience, I think, being a professional sportsman. Obviously, being the expert that I am on being a professional sportsman. But I think it's so unique that maybe in some ways it's easier to get that outlook from someone who's been there and done it than someone who perhaps is trained to do it.
I think you're right in saying that. I think again we tend to have tunnel vision on what we see in front of us. So when it comes to the FA, they're talking about England, and they've got so much on their plate with that. Now with COVID-19 and the Euros moving to, they've got to try and organise that. Then with not having as much sponsorship money, is that really in the forefront of their mind to worry about players coming out of the game, which they feel they should have already sorted themselves out? It's not in their remit. Yes, it should be, but again, it's so far down pecking order that at times you're better off the PFA, like you're saying. The PFA have a database of everyone. They have a database of who's coming out. They have a database of whose contract's coming up to the end, who's coming out, who's coming to a certain end of an era of having to retire. So they know all this, and they could possibly be a bit more proactive in that sense. But again, it's there's only so much you can actually do. And you've got to be players as well have to be on the forefront as well of basically asking for help as well. You can't just think that someone's going to be sitting there knowing what you're going through.
Yeah, 100%. It's such an interesting conversation, and I think it's clear for everyone, anyone, whether you've been you professionals like you guys or just even like myself, who's just a fan. It's clear that professional sportsmen, not just footballers, when they finish their careers, a lot of them need help to adjust, whether that's an ongoing help or just a little bit of help to get them on their feet. I've spoken to boxers a lot with the podcast, and they have very similar issues. So it's clear that there's stuff in place, but the more needs to be done.
Listen, Si, if it helps one person, it's done its job. We've had, unfortunately, we've done a show on here about Chris Barker who took his own life because of his not being able to handle coming out of football, and if it just helps somebody, a close friend of mine. But listen. It just people just need to be aware that they're there sometimes. And Emile said that sometimes the players don't even know that they are still available when you're packing football.
Exactly.
They think it's some people just think that it's the PFA is a professional football association for when you're a player. They do more work for you when you're not. You know what I mean? They help me go to university. They help me get my degrees, and so they've done a great job for me. So I can't thank them enough, really.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. So studying wise, they're helping me. And I never even knew that was there while I was playing as well. So again, it's been a bit more proactive and helping people even while they're playing. Because again, when we think about it, we have so much time on our hand. We could have done half of the stuff that we're doing now. We could have done back then.
Totally agree. Well, I had more time in my hands then than I do now. It's just unbelievable. No, it's ridiculous, and it's the best job in the world. But at the same time, it's such an emotional roller coaster. But it's, you know what I mean. I wouldn't have changed it for the world, because it's given me an opportunity now to talk about it and get you on our show. So it's win-win, mate. Win-win for this. Yeah. Right, moving on, Si. Moving on. So, any other business?
Yeah. So what we'd like to do, Emile, is we'll have a quick chat about some of the bigger stories of the week. Deep breath before I start this one.
You won't like this one. You won't like this one. You won't like this one. Man United fan.
No, yeah, Liverpool won the league. Yeah, see, I'm happy. No, they deserved it. And it looks like they're going to break many a record before the season finishes. They're not quite there yet on the record front, but what's impressed you the most about Liverpool this year? Before the
lockdown, the thing that impressed me the most was the actual relentlessness of them. The thing that within football that they say all the time is winning ugly, and that was one of the problems we had when I was playing for Liverpool. We'd go and beat Man U, we'd go and beat Arsenal, and then we'd go and get beat by the smaller clubs. And that consistency to actually grind out results and get results when you're probably not playing the best. We've seen it with them this season against Southampton. We've seen it against other teams as well, where they're probably not at their best, but they know how to win. And I think that's one of the key things that stuck in my mind with Liverpool this season. Obviously, after the break, it's been a little bit different, been up and down, because again, imagine 3 months off and then coming back. That's crazy.
Couldn't have even thought about it. Couldn't even thought about
exactly. 3 months off and then 4 week training. Well, two weeks of that has been in groups of 4.
Yeah, I know. It's not even training. It's outrageous. Here's a good question for you there, Emile. So, your Liverpool era of your team against Jurgen Klopp's side now, who would come on top?
It'd be an interesting battle.
It would be.
We were quite defensive, but we played on counter-attack more so than they do now. They're very dynamic, and they do play on the counter-attack, and they're very quick on the counter-attack, but they had a lot more of the ball. Yeah. So I think it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see if this is a one-off game. I would say, I would like to say us. Or if it was over the course of the season,
player for player, pound for pound, I would probably agree, because I just thought, you know what I mean, with probably Stevie G, yourself, Michael Owen, etc. You know what I mean? I think it's more spine of the team than anything for me.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
I think, and like you say, you know what I mean. Your defenders defended. Where I seen that at Liverpool now, you've got Trent one side who plays as a right winger. You've got Andy Robertson who plays as a left winger. It's just, you know what I mean. You can, and I think when they played Man City and when they played the top sides. Unfortunately, that happened, and that's where they get found out a little bit. But not enough teams probably take the game to Liverpool now, because they're scared and intimidated, so they sit back and play into their hands.
Well, the thing is, Andy, when you remember when we go to Man U, you go to Arsenal, you go to Chelsea, you sit back.
Yeah.
You sit back because you've. But the thing is, you've already lost the game.
Yeah, straight away.
You've already lost the game before you even get them. And obviously, I never did that. Obviously, never thought that way with Liverpool. But when I was at Leicester, Birmingham, teams like that, Wigan, it's kind of damage limitation already before you get onto the pitch, before they've even scored a goal.
So how frustrating is it then for you? Because obviously you led the line on your own quite a lot. You know what I mean? Naming some of those clubs that you played for, going into, let's say, Stamford Bridge for Birmingham, that they'll have set up very defensive. They'll have packed the midfield and probably left you up front on your own, isolated a little bit. So tell everybody how it feels to play that kind of lonely role.
It's tough because again, but you've got to understand the role as well. Because how I understood the role as well was, I don't know if you thought about it this way, is when the ball comes up to me, hold that up or buy a foul, and then try and get everyone up. Because if it keeps coming back,
I couldn't do the first bit, but I could do the second. I could do the second bit really well.
Because if it keeps coming back, you're never going to get out.
No.
So I understood where to position myself to buy a foul. Whether to hold the ball up and try and dribble and try and just keep it and lay it off to someone, and then usually you have to have runners. And again, it's a long afternoon. Put it away.
Just on the formation, just that you brought someone in the live chat, Yusuf said he had a question for Emile and Andy. With most teams playing 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1, or 4-3-3, essentially only playing one up top, how would you fare in today's game? The pressure to score is so high for a striker. Do you wish more teams played two up front, as we don't have any classical partnerships anymore?
We don't have any classical partnerships anymore, and that's a shame, to be honest with you, because again, coming from someone who formed a great partnership with someone for club and country, it's something that I loved. But again, would I be okay? Yeah, I'd be fine up on my own, to be honest with you, because again, I understood the game, and as well, you're talking about the goals. A lot of goals are now coming from the wing, from what is classed as a winger. Sorry. They play more inside now, and like you're saying, Trent and Thingy play the fullbacks are more the wingers now. But yeah, so wingers are scoring a lot more of your goals now as well. So would I be okay? Yeah, 100%. I played up front most of the time anyway.
I think mine would be a little bit different side though, because I wouldn't probably play as a 9. I'd probably play as one of the behind anyway, because of the way I played, the pace I had, I'd probably be out wide a little bit more. So. You know, I'd love to play up front like I did with Emile, and I played with probably Brian Dean, Hamilton Ricard, and some of the bigger players. I played Peter Thorne. That these kind of partners were perfect for me because they took the pressure off the game that I played, and I wasn't one who could hold the ball open. You know what I mean? I enjoyed running the channel. I enjoyed using my pace and going on flick-ons and things. So it's just a different game, but I could adapt, and I would have to adapt because it's just the way the football is.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, what I find quite interesting is now. So, Emile, sometimes you got criticised for maybe not being prolific in goal-scoring terms, but then now I think the person who plays at the tip of that formation, the 9 who plays on his own with the 3 forwards behind, they don't get as much criticism for not being prolific because it's not necessarily their job. Their job is to hold the ball up, to bring those 3 attacking players, the 2 wingers and the 10, into the game. Do you feel like, from that side of it, maybe you'd have been more suited to it these days, or do you feel that because you played up front on your own anyway?
Yeah, I was fine with that anyway, because again, I never fed into anything that anyone we can criticise anyone, but again, being on that football pitch is nothing better.
Is it fair criticism, though, Emile? Is it fair?
No, not really, because again, I was doing my job. I was told to do, and I understood how to do it. Yes, I did score my fair share of goals as well.
Right, you did, yeah.
I ended up playing several different positions. Like yourself, you played on the wing a lot, and again, wingers back then were actually 4, crossing the ball and providing. Then I actually played everywhere, to be honest with you. I played in left back, left wing, left back, right wing, right back, and front. So it was
many
just,
talents.
But yeah, look, I enjoyed my time, and would I have fared better now? I don't know. At the end of the day, again, it's just totally different eras. Again, back then was the forward should score your goals and should do this and should do that, and I'm like, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I bring so much more to the game. And we played together, Yugoslavia, is that right? Yugoslavia?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we won the game and we did what we needed to do. And
exactly.
You scored, I didn't score, but I was like, it's not like I'm going to be upset that we won the game. Did what we were supposed to do.
Well, from what I remember about the game, obviously a long time ago, I remember you played better than me in the game, but I scored. So it's not about it's how you perceive and if you're happy with your own performance, that it is what it is.
Exactly.
I seen an interesting interview by Chrissy Wilder on. Was it yesterday after they played, or was it the day before? They beat Chelsea and McGoldrick scored. He scored 2. He hasn't scored for in the Premier League ever, so he's going back years and years and years. And he just said, listen, the lad's not bothered about it. He doesn't get criticised. He does a great job for the team. You know what I mean? So his record of goal scoring, is
second to none.
Is absolutely, you know what I mean? So you can't question some of the things like that sometimes.
Indeed. Our next story, not that I want to quickly move on from Liverpool talk whatsoever, but was Man City.
This is worse.
Well, look, Man City banned they were banned from the Champions League. I think it was 2 years. It's been overturned. What's the point in financial fair play? Seriously, it's just pointless, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Emile, go on. We'll start with you.
I don't know. If I'm honest with you, I don't know too much about the case, to be honest with you, to fully go fully into it. But go on.
I was just going to say, never mind. I thought I had a list of all the things. It basically comes down to the amount of money, sponsors, and which is within, using loopholes,
which is within their own network of companies that they own and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know where I stand with financial fair play, to be honest with you. If you've got money to burn and you want to burn it on football, then why not?
It's up to the owners, I think.
Well, we've had the same conversation on the Championship show, Emile, about Wayne Rooney signing for Derby County. That obviously the unveiling. I don't know if you've seen it. Obviously, the unveiling of Wayne Rooney was through Red
32, was it?
Red 32. Yeah. And obviously, the rumour is that they're paying his wages, so it means that Derby County don't have to go into financial fair play, and it is what it is. If your sponsors and your partnerships are with a sponsor, and the sponsor's paying somebody's wages, then there's ways and means of bending rules, and there's ways and means of doing it. And for me, if it gets the best players in this country playing football, and there's a better spectacle, I'm all for it. You know, I don't want to see the best players having to go to Germany and Spain and Italy again. We've had that for a lifetime. And for me, I want to be able to watch it firsthand live and just be excited by the best players we can. And if Man City had been taken out of Europe, potentially we're going to lose De Bruyne, we're going to lose all these excellent footballers, we're going to lose a good coach, good manager, and it could be the start of an end of a great era for a football club. And however, I don't like teams who are really successful. I like it to be a little bit more even. I'll be gutted to after being so impressed with what Pep does. So I'm happy with the decision, but I just don't know where I stand with the bigger picture. The bigger picture for me is a mess.
Would you want salary caps in?
Probably not in the Premier League. I think I could work in Championship, League 1, League 2, and I think even things out. I still think you can do things with the league there about north-south divide, so it would be less travelling, so teams can not spend as much money on travelling, so you get bigger crowds. Every game potentially could be a derby. I just think if you had salary caps in the Premier League, I just think that the London teams would probably clear up. Teams like West Ham, for example, would be able to attract better players because people want to live in London than go and live in Newcastle, for example. And I just think, you know what I mean, that certain places where aren't as nice to live would get punished for their area, which I don't think it'd be fair. So for me, if Newcastle want to pay somebody double the amount of money and be stupid enough to do that, then go and do it. And if a player decides to go and chase the money, so be it. You know what I mean? It's why people gone to China, and then China decided to put a salary cap on, and every league to their own, I suppose.
Goes,
yeah, exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I tell you one thing it does do is it's suddenly made the top 4 race very, very tense and tight, because obviously with the chance that, or with the, it was basically Man City are out of it. It made that extra space for the clubs chasing. That's gone now. So it suddenly makes it real tight. So I'll ask you both real quickly, who is going to get that final top 4 space?
You said that with a smile on your face, Si, so I'm guessing you want the answer to what you're looking for. But no. I'll start before...
Cardiff aren't in the Premier League, mate.
I do believe Man United are going to get into it, but tonight's a massive game. And I was just listening to Gary Neville about tonight's must win. Southampton are a decent side, but Man United have got all the tools now to finish the season the way that they've gone. And if they do, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserves absolute credit, by the way, for what he's achieved, because nobody's seen this coming from the position he was in, especially before lockdown. So I'll go Man United will get in the top 4.
And what about you, Emile?
I think the same, sadly to say that, because again, Leicester were doing so well.
Yeah.
They were fabulous before the lockdown, obviously in the position that they're in, but it's actually been since the turn of the year, to be honest with you. From since then, they've I think it's like 20 games. The last 20 games, they've only won 5.
Yeah,
they've lost about 6 or 7.
What do you think happened there? What do you think happened there? Because they looked like they were going to be the ones to challenge Liverpool at one point.
Exactly. If I'm honest with you, I don't know. The only thing I could say is mentality, not having that siege mentality, that mentality to really finish off a season. They've not been in that position for a long time, as in the players. some of them players have never been in that position because they weren't the ones who won. They weren't there when they won the league.
Yeah.
So it's been a tough time for them because again, now looking at it, that they might not even make it into, because again they've got 3 games left. If they lose all 3 of them, they've got a chance that they might not even make it into Europa because Sheffield might pip them.
Yeah, it's such a tough one because I watched the game yesterday and what could have gone wrong in the second half did go wrong, and it was just it's just so unlike Brendan Rodgers' side, so unlike Kasper Schmeichel, so unlike the people who made a mistake. It was just it's happening every game now, and not just happening, they're getting punished as well, and it's such a shame because they're all top players, they're all top professionals. They didn't do it on purpose to lose the game yesterday, you know what I mean, which has put them in a precarious position and handed potentially it to somebody else. But they'll keep going, they'll keep fighting, and you know what I mean, sometimes cream always rises, and hopefully they can finish it off with Brendan, because Brendan deserves it just as much as anybody, really.
100%. And the thing is, and you'd be in the same boat in the sense of at the beginning of the season, you always sit down and you map out what you want for the season and stuff like that. So I doubt they'd have said Champions League football. They'd have probably said top 6 or top 8, and they're actually well on course to do that. They're just a bit disappointed because they were so far ahead of everyone else. I think, what was it, 12 points ahead of Man U or something like that?
Yeah.
Once.
Yep.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Now after tonight's game, they could be behind them. So it's difficult to take.
It's I'd want to swallow. Right, so we'll move from the top down to the bottom, Emile. So we've got obviously one of your sides who's deep in the mire. Got a really positive result over the weekend, Aston Villa. Obviously Norwich fell through the trap door, and I didn't obviously see the Bournemouth result happening. So what's your thoughts on the bottom 4? Because I think, you know what I mean, obviously Norwich gone out with there. There's probably 2 places going to go. Do you believe that it's going to be Villa and Bournemouth who are going to fall in?
Up until then 2 games, I thought it was going to be Villa and Bournemouth. I couldn't see them actually. I honestly couldn't see them winning another game.
Yeah, I thought that.
Then obviously, Bournemouth actually created a lot of decent enough chances against Man U, even though they got beat. Defensively, they weren't good enough, and that's probably been one of their things. Then they played against Spurs and actually did okay as well. They probably should have won that game.
We spoke there, although Emile, didn't we, about teams sitting back and playing one up. Bournemouth at Old Trafford didn't do that. They went and attacked, they got the lead, and then, like you said, the old defensive problems hit them really hard, and they let more goals in. They still attacked, but you know, I mean, they left gaps wide open, and they lose the game quite heavy in the end. But it's it's difficult to take sometimes because Eddie Howe's a good coach, and if he drops down, will he still be there to push him back up, or will somebody else take a punt on him? I do fear for football clubs sometimes.
Has he taken them as far as he possibly can? Will he need a new challenge in the sense of someone else that he can actually take, who had the potential to even go even further, and he takes them that much further. Which is it's an interesting one to look at. Has he taken them as far as he possibly can? Because again, they only really 11,000 seater stadium. They could possibly get more, obviously, down there, but for what he's done a fantastic job there. And does he deserve a little bit bigger and a club that's going to be very, very ambitious with what he could possibly do? And then obviously got Watford as well, and I think Watford are one of the most equipped for getting out of that, because again they've got Nigel Pearson who at Leicester did the great escape at Leicester the season before they won the league. That was seven wins in 8 games.
Yes.
7 wins in the last 8 games. So he knows what it takes to motivate, to get the players in the right mind frame to get out of that position and really have a go. He doesn't put any pressure on them, and it's actually, I tell you what, the pandemic and having no crowd is probably a good thing for these lads, because again there's no pressure on you to make mistakes and stuff like that. Because again, playing in front of 30,000 fans and making a wrong pass or doing something wrong is not easy.
Yeah, we said this a few times over the last couple of weeks, that some players are coming to the forefront because they're really enjoying playing with no fans in the stadiums, because they're making mistakes, but they're getting on with it straight away instead of hiding for 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes or getting brought off because of having a bad game and fans getting on the backs. And hopefully this is showing supporters how good certain players are, because I will use Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood, he's an obscene talent. He's got a real talent, and he's got an opportunity to push on and go to another level. But at the same time, he makes mistakes, but he just gets on with it because he's got nobody there to have a go at him. He's got no supporters who are trembling and having a little whinge from the stands. And listen, there's 75,000 fans who are mourning at a pass you're giving away. You're going to know about it, and you're going to hear about it, and it's going to hit you. So he's now got an opportunity to grow his confidence and his level and get to a level of his ability and push on. And hopefully, when fans do return, which is hopefully soon, by the way, because it's nice to have fans back. Because there's nothing better than scoring a goal in front of supporters, and he deserves that opportunity because he's played a lot of his football life Europe before the lockdown because Man United were playing behind closed doors in the Europa League a couple of times. So he's done a lot of his games without fans there.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, Emile, about Villa was if they stay up or if they go down, do you think Jack Grealish is there any way Jack Grealish can stay if Aston Villa get relegated?
No. Even if they stay up, I think it'll be hard to keep someone. He's in a way he's done his time at Villa. He stayed when he possibly could have left. I think it was Spurs put an offer in, didn't they?
Yeah, and, Spurs and United as well have put an offer in.
Yeah, there you go. So he could have left, and he signed his contract, stayed, kept going, brought them up. So he did what he needed to do. And unfortunately, it just hasn't been good enough to stay up. To this point, sorry. But we don't know if they might still get out of it. We don't know. But so it's going to be interesting to see actually whether he'd stay or not. I don't think he will. I think it will be he'll be looking at a new chapter. He's 25 now, or 24, 25. So again, it will be a time where you're probably looking at it saying, okay, the next chapter's here for me. Where can I go? What's the next chapter for me?
£50 million or around that it's a lot of money to turn down, particularly if you get relegated. But I think it's a lot of money for a kind of bottom half Premier League club to turn down for a homegrown player, where they cost nothing to sign, and I think it's a lot of money at the end of the day, isn't it? Regardless of how much money is in football.
As an individual as well, though, Si, he needs to kick on to another level if he wants to go and represent his country level and regular. Yes. I think he's got to go to another club and kick on to another level. If that's playing and training every day with better players, then he's going to become a better footballer. Because at the minute he's a big fish in a little pond, so to speak, at Villa. And there's a lot of pressure on him to set goals up and things. And for me, it's not natural sometimes when he's not playing well. Everyone blames him for getting beat. That's not fair. He needs to be on a level playing field with other people. And then just enjoying his football, because sometimes it looks like he's got the world on his shoulders, and I feel really sorry for him because he's a Villa fan, and hope the Villa fans do accept when he does leave that he's done it for the right reasons, and he's stayed probably longer than he should have.
100%. Emile, you mentioned just now about the Yugoslav game which you and Andy played in, and that's not the first time that game has come up. When we had Adrian Bevington on a few weeks ago, he mentioned that game. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, And, but I think the quote he said it was the worst racist abuse he'd ever witnessed. He was quite still, even you could tell talking to him, he was still quite shocked by it. And sadly, me and Andy have had to talk about instances of racist abuse throughout this season on several shows. And I've just literally had a notification to say David McGoldrick of Sheffield United has been targeted by racist abuse on social media today or over the last couple of days. It seems to be a very big problem. But I was wondering if you could tell us firsthand, that Yugoslavia game in particular, you were a very young player. That must have been real difficult to deal with. I've spoke about that one. I've spoke about Croatia, and I've spoke about Slovakia as well. And that one was tougher than the other ones who had more crowd. Andy will tell you there was only 15 people in the crowd, if that.
Hardly anybody, yeah.
And there was one guy kept on standing, shouting all sorts, and it was just, when you can hear it from one guy, it makes it worse than if you heard it from loads of others. What's that, 1-0 Southampton?
1-0 Southampton,
yeah, Pogba mistake apparently.
Oh wow.
Makes us look stupid again, doesn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, look, I think again, I grew up in an era where racial abuse, you were kind of used to it. So I'm not saying that it was that I wasn't hurt by it or anything, but I got kind of grew thick skin to know that you just throw it off and go again. But the fact that it's still happening now is weird, because when was that 90?
96, about 96, 97, yeah.
Yeah,
97,
and it's still happening now.
Still happening now.
With 2020.
Educationally wise, because I'm sure it happened to Wilfred Zaha. Wilfred Zaha got racially abused on social media. I think it was Instagram, and a 12-year-old boy got arrested. Listen,
that's down to the parents, mate. Sorry.
12-year-old boys, you know what I mean, don't wake up on the morning, you know what I mean, they hear this at home, they hear this from other people, and it's just absolutely disgusting, or they hear it at school. Education is so important to children, you know what I mean, to educate them the right way, to about people's beliefs, about people's skin colour, you know, that listen, you know what I mean, the FA or UEFA, you know what I mean, Black Lives Matter, and doing the campaign, which we're obviously going to talk about in a second, Emile, that it needs to carry on, but they also need to throw in education for children, because people, you know, we don't wake up on a morning and become racist. You know what I mean? It's drilled into you. You know what I mean? It's drilled into you from a young age, or you'd learn it from somebody. You don't. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I'm not condoning what this 12-year-old boy did, by the way, because he's bang on board. But there's a bigger picture. You know what I mean? So the person who he's heard it from first, are they getting punished? Probably not. But they should be punished, or they should feel more guilty than the kid than his son feels, or the friend feels, or something, because someone else has told him this is a good idea, and you know what I mean, it's backfired because the social media is massive with footballers.
The worst thing for me on the angle with the one that Wilfred Zaha is the pictures. Now, how do you know as a 12-year-old to put that picture with that? And because you're talking about stuff that was, you've got to have learned that from somewhere. Someone's got to have taught you that for you to actually put them pictures together and put it all in context. So for me, where are they learning this? You know, because again, like I've got a 12-year-old.
Same here.
And I wouldn't know. I hope he wouldn't even know all that stuff unless he's learning that at school, because he wouldn't be learning it from me.
Yeah, but that's the thing about bringing kids up and educating them. You know what I mean? You try and keep them safe. You try and protect them from certain things. But whoever's son this is, you haven't protected him. You've absolutely ruined his life, because this is going to be he's going to be remembered for this. He's going to live with it. He's going to stick with him forever. You know what I mean? If he does get prosecuted, which, you know what I mean, is he too?
They might make an example of him, mate.
Well, this is what I believe.
Because it's so public.
You know what I mean? Is he? For me, I'd ban him for life for football. So he never goes there watching football. It should be a stigma on his life forever, or somewhere, so it sticks with him forever, because he needs to learn the hard way, and so his family lives with it as well. So right. So here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to play like devil's advocate, not from the racist point of view, because obviously that's sickening. But what I'm going to say is, he is a child. He's learnt that behaviour from someone. Should the rest of his life be tarred with it because he's learnt that behaviour from either an older child or a relative or someone? I don't know if I'm like he should be punished 100%, and if that means being charged by the police, etc., then that's what they should do. But ultimately, he should be able, we should educate him and try and do some sort of
the family.
Yeah, of course,
the whole family.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Because also,
Emile,
you don't even know that the child himself's done it. You know what I mean? Because somebody else could have used his account. So it could be the parents. Same thing. You know what I mean? It could be the parent using his son's account. You know what I mean? To be a coward, and you know what I mean? And this is where we just
thinking. They may have been thinking that they won't get charged because it's a child, so they thought they were being. I didn't even think of that.
The whole thing's, you know what I mean? And we go back to '97. You know what I mean? It's a cowardly act. You know what I mean?
Infuriating.
It's cowardly act. You know what I mean? That people can stand in a stand and shout racist abuse, make silly chants. They can write things on social media in 2020. It's just cowardly. You know what I mean? That education is paramount, and it starts in schools, it starts at home, and bigger things need to be done about it. Black Lives Matter is a fantastic campaign, and everybody you know what I mean, is fully involved in it. You know what I mean, and it's so nice to see the start of every game. It's absolutely a privilege to watch. But then it's still happening, and it's probably happening worse this last week than ever again, which shouldn't be happening. You know, that if we're learning from it, then sometimes though that can be the opposite, have the opposite impact. That because it's out there and it's relevant, the people then are using it as an excuse and thinking, oh well, I'll do it. And that's not an excuse to do it. It's childish, it's immature, it's dangerous, and it's affecting far too many people, because it's just it needs to stop. It's got to stop, because like Emile said, you know what I mean. And Emile said something interesting, and I'm going to disagree with you, because you know what I mean. You said you grew up with thick skin. You became to think it was, you get used to it. No one should ever have to get used to it. You know what I mean? If Emile shouldn't have to get used to it in 96, 97, growing up as a 16, 17, 18-year-old footballer, and now they showed Wilfred Zaha in 2020 being a 26, 27-year-old man. You know, it's just people should be able to go to work, walk down the street, go to the supermarket, and not expect any kind of abuse. If that's your colour, your race, your beliefs, it's just very poor. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, these lads are going on the football pitch, doing something what everybody loves and everybody would swap with. You know what I mean? But they don't deserve the abuse and especially the racist abuse what they're getting for being a hero to many, just because they've scored against your club. That's what makes it even worse for me. You know that it's just, you know, it's just embarrassing.
Do you know, from a football point of view and a sporting point of view, I hold FIFA and UEFA quite responsible for it still being an issue in 2020, because I feel like they've had many times when they could have dealt with it in football and made an example of a club, a nation's fans, or etc., and they always take a kind of soft touch to the punishment.
Well, the thing is, I think with that, with you saying that, a soft touch, that's what they don't see it as a major problem, because again, you ask a 60, 70, possibly an 80-year-old white person what they think of that. It's not that bad, is it? It's not that bad. It's just name calling. But you ask a younger person, they'll say no, it cuts deeper than that. You ask a younger black person, it cuts deeper than that.
Yeah.
So you've got to remember who's actually dishing out these punishments. I think it was Bentner. Bentner got 80 grand for just showing his
Paddy Power shorts.
Underpants or whatever it was.
But it went against one of their sponsors. So you've got, this is what's infuriates them. But when it comes to racism, it's like, it's not that bad. It's name calling. Well, it's not quite name calling. It's a bit deeper than name calling.
But Emile, you spoke about Croatia and Slovakia, but we obviously England. Was it last year, the year before, when they played Bulgaria? Obviously, you know what I mean.
Earlier this year, wasn't it?
For me, there was an opportunity there to make a stand, and for me, I think teams were. And I'm not blaming England, by the way, because England probably did it just right. But I think other teams, when it was involved within the same impact and within the same weeks, obviously it was quite a high profile at the time. Somebody needed to walk off and make a statement, and then they needed UEFA to back them and FIFA to back them and say, listen, you win that game 5-0. Nobody should have to deal with what's going on and then move on. And you know, I mean, instead of giving, I think Bulgaria got a two game behind closed door ban, money ban, which doesn't matter, and the manager lost his job. Well, that's just not enough for me.
But even that 2-game behind closed door, who are you actually punishing there?
Yeah,
you're punishing the team that they're actually playing against. So let's look at Croatia. Croatia played England behind closed door. Jadon Sancho makes his debut. His parents can't come and watch them. Why? Because you're trying to punish Croatia. You're actually punishing me now. That's my debut. My family should be able to come to that game. My family should be able to experience the what it means for me to represent my country. And you've spoke that.
Totally agree.
Totally agree.
Totally agree. Hey, that's 2-1 Man United. 2-1 Man United. I totally agree, Emile. And you know what? It's because family play a big part in a young footballer's career. You know that my mum and dad went to my debut, and you know I couldn't have done it without them. You know, and I'm so proud that they were there to enjoy it, like I enjoyed it. You know, so I feel so sorry for people whose family don't feel safe. Who can't go because they're not allowed any supporters, you know, that, like you say, you know what I mean, they're punishing the wrong people, and they're punishing innocent people who just want to get on and watch games of football and play football in front of supporters, because you know yourself. You know what I mean? It's not easy sometimes to play in front of an empty stadium. You know what I mean? In a game, what counts, and that might help other teams raise their game and feel no pressure. Whereas if it's intimidating against England, it can have a different impact. But yeah. No, it's not fair. It's you know what I mean. We're living in an equal world with diversity, and just for me, it's just we need to remember that. And education for me in primary school and secondary schools is paramount.
Yeah, within FIFA and UEFA, I think if you ask the right people, you get a substantial answer.
Yeah.
Then for you to actually to implement that. Because again, if you ask black people or black players what you feel they should do, they will tell you. Then you probably won't want to do it because you'll think, oh, that's a bit too much.
Yeah.
Too much for what?
Yeah. Right. Well, I agree.
We're just going to keep hearing it.
There's no boundaries. Is there? Someone's going to and I'm not going to feel sorry for them here, but someone's going to take the brunt of it, and someone's going to get really hit. And if it's a 12-year-old who takes the brunt of it, then so be it. Because someone down the line one day has got to take the wrath of everybody from what's happened previously.
From what's happened, yeah.
So before somebody doesn't do it again, because it's at the minute you can't just slap someone's wrist and say don't do it again. It's not enough.
And this freedom of speech thing, I know I hear a lot of people saying freedom of speech. That's just nonsense.
It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish, though, because you don't have a right. You know what I mean? And people say I have a right because I pay my money to go and watch a game of football. Yeah, well, you have a right to sit in the stand and watch a game of football. You don't have a right to shout what you want to shout. You don't have a right after a game to pick your phone up and tag somebody in it and write this and write that. It's just absolute nonsense and disgusting. So for me, you don't have a right. And if anybody thinks any different, then come on the show and tell me that I'm talking rubbish, because I'll back myself on it 100%. So.
Spot on, mate. Do you know what? I find it infuriating that in 2020 we are still talking about people saying these things, doing these things, because I get quite upset by it. There was like that people are still saying it and doing it. It kind of really gets to me. Like Andy, when we started this show at the start of the season, I did not expect to have to talk about incidents of racism, and we've done it, I would say, probably 4 or 5 times, like where there's been actual instance of something. It's infuriating.
I didn't expect to have tweets this weekend about it after the project. What's going on? It's absolutely revolting. But
okay, so we've got like a massive backlog of questions.
Yeah, we have. I've seen them all.
Emile.
Amazing.
So I'm going to try and go through some of these. Christian McGrain asked, is it true that they had to cut the neck of your shirt so it would fit over your head at Leicester?
No.
First one.
What
a question!
Well, it's the first one.
No. I don't even know where all that come from. The cutting of the actual. So we had the V-neck like that, and then just there we used to cut it. I don't know why everyone did it. I'm not sure.
But I don't get the socks now. Yeah, like people wear ankle socks and then cut the other socks and put. I just don't get it. It just baffles me.
The thing is, when I can understand it, because certain socks. You remember when you used to wear certain socks and they gather inside your boot by the end of training, or they're twisted round. So now the socks actually stay. They've got all these grips on them, and they stay where they are. So you just end up having half the top end of your sock, and then just taping and putting on a normal sock.
I'd be scared of my kit man if I started cutting the socks up. I'd say I don't think I would have got that.
True.
Emile, someone else wanted to know. I can't find the question. Are you sat on a throne?
No.
It's King, isn't he? King Heskey.
King Heskey.
King Heskey.
This is in the bedroom, and it's actually the headboard.
King Heskey.
And then we had the question. Who's the greatest striker you've ever played with?
He sat next to me. Thank you.
Myself.
Oh, I pointed the wrong way.
There we go.
My favourite strike partner was obviously Michael. He's a wonderful player, and I played with Michael from the 18s, I think it was. He was 16 at the time, so we just formed a great partnership. Everything just clicked, and it just went from strength to strength. And we both understood what we wanted from each other, and what more do you want in a partnership?
I mean, I'll tell everybody how good he was, though, because you know what I mean. Listen, I've come across some players, but he's just to another level. He was just amazing.
you look at all these players now, and you look at players, and you're saying, "Oh, he's great this and he's great that," and then I think Greenwood is now the next one that everyone's raving about. And don't get me wrong, he's a wonderful, fantastic player. The way he manoeuvres the ball, and I think he's left-footed, if I'm right in saying. But
I'm not sure though.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know. But then look at Michael. Then put him next to Michael. Look at Michael's stats. It blows. Michael's stats will blow him away. Michael's stats blow most people's away.
Yeah. Well, he won the Ballon d'Or. You know what I mean? The amount of goals he scored in the Premier League. You know what I mean?
But I'm talking about even age.
It's just outrageous.
It's
you know.
Just,
But
18. I think he was the first by 18.
I could see that talent in 14 though. When I seen him coming through England schoolboys, and some of the goals he used to score for England schoolboys, he'd get the ball in his own box and beat everybody and score goals at St James's Park against Scotland. And I was just like, oh God, this is just, you know what I mean? I was lucky enough to play England schoolboys with him once against Scotland, and I think he scored 5 or 6 in the same game. And he's just it was relentless. He was relentless. Yeah. And you're on about selfish, but selfish in an unbelievable way that he just enjoyed scoring goals. You know that selfish sometimes comes across a really, really bad word, but I thought it's a positive for him because he was just he's outrageous. And you know what? For somebody that good, how nice he was as well. You know how humble he was. He was brought up really well, lovely family, and just nicest guy ever. You know what I mean? He gets loads of stick now about the way he comes across on TV and stuff, and you know what I mean. But that's just so unfair because people don't. Unless you do things like this, and people don't really get to know you, and people don't really get to know that what works and what doesn't work, and people just perceive you as it is. If the camera's just sat in your face, that of course you're going to say what you need to say. And things.
Again, I don't think he said anything controversial. I don't think he said anything bad.
No,
to be honest,
he doesn't. People say he's boring, Emile, but is
that the tone of his voice? Is that what is it? I don't know.
But you know different though, because you know how funny he is. He's always up to stuff. He's, you know what I mean.
Him and Cara are nuts. Them two together, they're like best mates.
Dangerous. So all of them, all the scouts as well.
Yeah, to be fair, they were. But no, it's interesting to see because again, you put I would say put Michael's record up against anyone else's, you'll see who's on top. When it comes to a certain age group, and then at a certain age, and then obviously at a certain age, you got all his injuries, so he kind of just tailed off after that, and it was just disappointed to see. But up until like 18, I think they were talking about Greenwood's got 10 goals. Michael was up at 18 goals already, but at the age of 18 this season.
Al asked, who was your idol growing up? He also asked, who was your favourite strike partner, and do you have any pre-match superstitions?
Idol growing up would have been John Barnes and Ian Wright, players like that. I used to run pretending to be John Barnes. I'm right-footed, but but it actually helped because you pretend that you're dribbling with your left foot, so you're pretending that so it's working for you. You're actually learning. But someone like that. Favourite strike partner, obviously Michael. Like I said, we formed a partnership from a very young age, and it just clicked. Everything just clicked, and it worked really well. And then what was the last one?
Pre-match superstitions.
I didn't have any, and it's funny to see you get held hostage by a lot of them pre-match superstitions because I see a lot of people saying that they put this on first and they put that on first, or they go through the door first. They have to be. Imagine if you had to be the first one into the change room and I go in the change rooms before you. Then me and you have got you're upset with me.
Totally
Yeah. So I think you get held hostage. With a lot of that. Martin O'Neill was one of those. If we won one game 3-0 or whatever, and we did this, we've got to do that again. Can't come out and do this without that. And in the end, you're like, do we have to? But
I told the story last week, so I didn't know about Chrissy Wilder. That Chrissy Wilder made us. We won a game away from home one week, and we hadn't won for so many weeks. So he made us go for a drink on the Friday before the game. So we had about 2 or 3 pints. Won the game 1-0, which is great. Then did it the following week. Didn't work. We got beat 5-0. It just messes with you. You think sometimes listen, it was just couldn't been further from the truth. But it doesn't make anybody a good manager or a bad manager. You just get on with it and try and nail it as much best you can. You know.
Last quick question then before we get into your career to finish off, Emile. Nick asked, who is the toughest defender you've played against?
I would probably say Sol Campbell. Big lad, bigger than me. Just as quick as me.
That takes some doing as well, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So I bet it was I bet though as well. On the flip side, though, I bet if you asked Sol Campbell, who was the hardest opponent, he would probably say yourself as well, though, because he probably knows that he's been into a game. You know where.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my questions, if someone asked me the question, it solves the same thing. That you know what I mean. I had to probably give myself a little bit of space and stay as far away from him as I could to get any joy from him. Where try and get him in the box, which is the hardest thing in the world, because you're trying to get these good players who are really experienced upstairs to stay out of the box. So you know what I mean. They trained very well to do that. So it was a obviously different cat and mouse game for me.
Yeah, and like you're saying, I would play up against him.
Yeah.
So I would physically try and put myself up against him, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Even though I back myself, but Jesus.
So when you finish, you knew you'd been in a game.
100%. Like I'd been in the gym all day.
Andy's dad also asked a question. He said
My dad's always on.
they're talking about playing Trent in midfield for Liverpool. What do you think?
Trent actually is a midfielder, if you don't know.
I didn't know that.
He came through the ranks as a midfielder, and then I think someone slowly moved him out to the right, and because he's got so much energy up and down, he's a right back now. And I got asked the question, would I play him central midfield? Well, when you've got the best, possibly arguably the best right back in the world at this moment in time,
it's outrageous.
why would you put him in midfield? When you trying to accommodate someone?
You got about stats, Emile. So when you've got somebody who's got as many assists as he has from a wide position and from set pieces, why would you? If it's not broke, don't fix it. You know that you've got.
Exactly.
You know, if you listen, the players that have got in midfield, it works. You know that if you take him out of there and you take him out of the position he's in, I don't know. Would they have less energy down one side? You know, I mean, I know they put Andy Robertson right back when they had the young lad on. And obviously he scored, so you know, I mean, you can say it worked, but it's about the amount of chances they create. Sometimes, if you create less chances, it's not as effective. And you know, will Klopp go with that long term? I'm not so sure. If it's not broke,
I don't know if they've got exactly. I don't know if they've got a few injuries in midfield, so they're probably trying to plug certain gaps. But again, I don't know why you'd play your best right. Why you'd play the best right back in centre midfield. No, I think Roberto Carlos said that about someone once, because he just killed me. I know I had a load of energy, but he played. I'm a left back. Why is he playing me centre midfield?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
I'm the best left back in that.
Exactly. I totally agree. Great shout. He reminds you a little bit of Cafu, but you know, just younger, gets up and down. You know, just so fit. Danny Alves, exactly. He's just got those attributes. So while he's got those attributes, just carry on doing what you're doing. And when you get a little bit older, you can tuck inside a little bit and start spraying balls around and just use your strengths, because he's very talented individual.
Mm-hmm.
See, Simon, your dad's full of great comments, isn't he?
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. So, I just saw there's a load more questions as well. We'll get to those right at the end. So, I wanted to touch on your career, Emile, a little bit, but just before we do, I'd like to know, what is your earliest football memory?
Playing.
Anything.
Or just anything.
Watching, playing, anything.
Watching, I was a Liverpool fan, but watching from stadiums, I went to Leicester, obviously because I'm born and raised in Leicester, and I was playing for Leicester, so they would give you tickets for that. Going at under 14s, I went with my mates' dads and all that. And I remember I went to Luton once, and Kevin Campbell played for Leicester at the time and scored actually.
Cardiff legend,
and proper player.
And it was Luton back then was. I'm going to say 3G, but it's probably not even 3G back then.
It's like a car park.
Yeah, that's
what it was.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I don't even think 3G had come out then yet.
It's like Preston had the same pitch, and it was awful. I used to hate this. Hated playing it. I'm gonna start crying in a minute. I'm going to talk about probably one of the best moments you had in a Leicester City shirt, Emile, and that was a cup final. I think it was the Carling Cup final, wasn't it? And it was scoring the equaliser at Wembley. Obviously, I was disappointed because I wasn't in the 16, but I was only a young kid. I'd made my debut, but I was there as a supporter, and what I couldn't get my head around was how open the game was, how noisy the game was. The atmosphere was just unbelievable. By the way, such a player in it. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to tell the story in a minute, but the noise when Ravanelli scored was amazing. I thought that couldn't be beaten. But then the noise when you scored was just, because the Middlesbrough fans were just deafened because of the way and how it happened with the extra time equaliser. But tell everybody how good that day was for you.
It was an amazing day, and I don't know if you remember, like not long before we played you, and you spanked us at Filbert Street.
We did.
Yeah, and Juninho was on fire.
No, he was all over the place.
Tore us to bits. And then Martin O'Neill decided to put Pontus Carmark on him to mark him the whole game. So he literally followed him around all over the game. And we knew it was going to be tough. You had Emerson, is that him?
Emerson, yeah.
Yeah, you had him and Ravanelli, players like that, and I was like, wow. But we as long as we stayed in the game, we knew we had half a chance, because again, I could probably create something. Stevie Claridge would probably be able to nick a goal if we had corner or anything like that. Walshy and them coming up as well. We had quite a decent side. So, and then obviously, I think Walshy headed it onto the bar or something.
Yeah, came down a bit of a scramble. Yeah,
scramble. And I just managed to toe poke it in, and then it just all erupted, didn't it? And it was just an amazing day.
And you know what? I think the game was, well, the final was won on that moment, because I don't know if you remember the replay at Hillsborough. It was just a bit of a dead rub. It didn't really feel like a cup final, because being at Hillsborough, I don't know why it wasn't at Wembley. I'm not really sure the ins and outs, but you know what I mean, to play a final, a replay at Hillsborough, you know what I mean, in front of probably a third or half of the attendance what we had previously in the week before, just didn't really make sense to me. But the FA decides these crazy and silly things at times. But I think Steve Claridge scored the winning goal, decent finish if I remember, like quite a scissor kicky sort of finish. And you know what? Yeah. When you say there about having a decent side, I thought they were workmanlike, but they had so much quality, you know, that you just seem to complement each other really well. And like I said, in the midfield, Muzzy Izits and the Neil Lennons, the Steve Walsh, the Elliots, just full of very good footballers, and just everyone did the job to a man. And we probably had a little bit more quality individually, you know, in stars, but didn't really come together as a group. And you know what I mean, Leicester just did a great job. And Martin O'Neill, for me, it put him on the map a little bit, and just showed how good a manager he really was. Because you say there about Pontus Carmark and that he followed him around, and that was probably the first time that man marking was probably done on a big stage properly, and it just showed that he can think outside the box a little bit and make sure that he can do the tactics just the best of his ability to make sure his football club wins.
Yeah, 100%. And Martin went from strength to strength, because again, he brought in the right players at the right time. Yeah. If they were a little bit older, Ian Marshall's, players like that, just characters that really gave us what we wanted. And again, we wasn't full of any names, huge names, prima donnas or anything like that. We were workmanlike. But we knew what we were capable of doing, and we ended up going to 3 cup finals, which is not bad.
So how important were the Marshies of this world and the TC and the Stevie Claridge? How important was for you for your development?
Huge, especially for the way that I played as well, because they were the ones who were going to go and get the goals, and I was the one that was going to just cause havoc. Yeah. You know, I throw myself about, chase. Back then, when I was able to to run into the channels, run channels and get on the ball, turn, run, just cause all sorts of problems. I hit the post in that cup final, didn't I? Left foot drug it, just hit the post in that one. So, but yeah, they created a lot for me and helped me. And TC was really good in the sense that he would sit down and talk to me as well. Didn't listen up for the time, but he was good. He was very good that in that sense, because again, he'd been around and he was like 35 at the time, and he just left me to do what I wanted to do, and he understood what I wanted to do, like Michael did, and just get on the end of things and just make sure you hit the target, and that was what he did.
I don't think it happens often enough that the older players, you know, I mean, you know what I mean, you said that about laughing and joking about not listening now, but I don't think younger players have the mentality to go up to an older player and ask for advice and learn from them a little bit. Sometimes that younger players now, they think that they've got all the tools and they've got all the experience early doors, instead of looking at an older player and thinking, right, he's beaten the very top, he's got all the attributes which make you successful. How can I emulate and copy and just get half the career that he's had? Because if you do that, you're going to be successful. And I think sometimes having all the talent in the world is just not enough. You know, that you said there about the work and the work ethic and just getting everything on the table and leaving everything on the pitch. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean, for me, just talent's not enough anymore. And you know what I mean, you see loads of players going out the game, and you know what I mean, they don't put the legwork in, or they don't have the attitude, and you know what I mean, they live a lifestyle instead of the opposite way around, where the lifestyle comes with the football, fortunately or unfortunately. It sometimes just doesn't get in the way. It's not a hobby. It's a job, and it's a really important job for some people.
Yep.
Emile, I refer to Andy as the goal collector, but I think I'm going to refer to you as the League Cup collector. That tournament was very kind to you. Obviously, you worked very hard for it, and you got, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you won it 4 times and came runner-up once or twice. So, how do you view that as a tournament, as a competition? Because obviously, whenever there's talk of reducing the schedule, that's the competition which kind of is talked about maybe dropping for Premier League sides.
I'd be gutted if they do drop it for Premier League side, because again, me being a lower club, I went to three cup finals for Leicester, and what was it?
2 with Liverpool as well, isn't it?
Two with Liverpool, and 1 with Villa. Yeah. So yeah, it'd be disappointing, because again, it gives everyone an opportunity to go out there and win a trophy. At this moment in time, when I was playing, it was the bigger clubs didn't really take that too seriously. So the likes of my Middlesbrough, Leicester, this is the chance you have. One of the finals was Leicester and Tranmere, so you've got the opportunity to really win, get to the final, and for your club to be going out there at Wembley. But now, you look at Man City now; they're really having a go at that tournament. They last 3-4 years they've won it. So to actually cut it now, I'd be very disappointed if they even think about that. But I understand why, because again, the season is getting so condensed. I'm not sure where they're going to get all these games in, and unfortunately, there's ranking, isn't there? There's tiers, and that one usually stays at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think as well, we spoke about us, haven't we? You know what I mean? That I see it from a player's point of view, and I see how important a cup run is as a player, because it's the excitement of going to Wembley, it's the excitement of the Tuesday night and having a full stadium, and those days are few and far between sometimes. You know what I mean? So if clubs are not taking it serious and they're putting out under 23 sides, and I just don't like it, because.
But do you think it's important to those young players' development to play first team football in a competition rather than just the under 23s games? Like, if you get rid of that League Cup, it takes away that opportunity to play for first team football and prepare them for that step up to the first team football.
Potentially, yes, but then I could look at it the other way though, and I look at Emile there. You've just said all the times that he's been in the final. That if Liverpool or Leicester, or you know what I mean, and they put the reserves out, or they put the under 23s out. Yes, he was young and he still might have played, but potentially they wouldn't have got to the final. So then it would have had an impact on the trophies that Emile won and all the success he had and all the memories he's got. So for me, you only get memories by winning football matches and winning games and scoring goals. And the first memory against Middlesbrough potentially would never have happened if Leicester didn't put the strong side out, because you know what I mean. It's tough to win a game, you know what I mean, unless you put your best side out. But Leicester City took it seriously. Liverpool took it seriously. So you know what I mean. It's a tough one. I get everyone's point though.
But again, the under 23s play in the Johnson's Paint. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's that one, isn't it?
I nearly called it the LDV. That's how old my memory goes back.
Yeah. So the thing for me is, you play your youngsters in the League Cup, and then they come out of that, they might not play again in that League Cup again, and that's disappointing. To you're out of the cup again, and you haven't really had a go. So I don't know. Again, we can't just use that cup as a cup for kids.
No, I totally agree. And the thing is, the FA Cup, you know what I mean? FA Cup sometimes isn't getting taken seriously as well. The teams play lesser sides. So, you know what I mean? For me, I was growing up to watch the FA Cup and used to love the FA Cup final day and watch St Greavesy and see all the FA Cup goals, and then watch the game live. And, you know what I mean? The Keith Houchin scoring a diving header. It's memories which I just love, so I just can't see it getting taken away, and I don't want cups taken away. It just won't happen. So moving away then, Emile. So obviously you moved from Leicester City to your childhood team, to your team that you supported. You moved to Liverpool. So tell everybody how exciting that move was for yourself personally.
Amazing. It kind of happened out of the blue, to be honest with you. When I say out of the blue, I thought it would possibly happen at the end of the season, but it happened in March. Yeah. So then I go up to, I'd obviously never moved before, so I hadn't got a clue what was going on, how you do it and all that. And I'm 1 minute I'm at home in Leicester, and the next minute I'm up in a hotel in Liverpool, and I'm getting ready to go and play for them against Sunderland. It's crazy. It happened that quickly, but it was great, and wonderful club to play for, and the fans are just amazing.
How did the Leicester fans react to you moving? Did they understand? Because obviously, when you leave a club, that sometimes it can leave a bit of tears because people think that you don't want to be there anymore or you don't care. But I'm guessing you had a good relationship with the Leicester fans that they fully understood.
I think they understood, to be honest with you, because, and then when you look at my progression as with yours, I was linked to moving from the age of 18, and I didn't move till I was 22.
Yeah.
So every single year, every single transfer window, I was linked to moving. So, and I stayed till 22. I'd got to a point where we'd won the League Cup final against Tranmere, and I thought, oh, this is probably the best it's going to get right now. So let's have a look at it. And the funny thing is, I'd just started a partnership with Stan Collymore. We'd beaten Sunderland 5-2. And everyone was thinking this is going to be amazing. Emile Heskey and Stan Collymore playing up front together. Jesus, this is going to be crazy. I left. I know they weren't too happy in that sense, but I think they understood where I was coming from. That the fact that I probably needed to take that next step, because I was in the national team by then as well.
Yeah, and then you've got the transfer fee as well, I suppose, which when you're a young boy coming through, it's free money for the football club as well, because they haven't lost anything, and I think supporters, because not many fans. Well, I don't think I've ever come across a football supporter who says anything bad about you. So especially not a Leicester fan, when you see people about traitor this, traitor that from football clubs, who people, it's out of order. But what some players do get stick, but you know what I mean. It's always been a quite a nice reception every time I've seen games when you've gone back to Leicester as an opposing player. Did you ever score against Leicester when you went back?
Yeah.
Did you celebrate?
Not at Filbert Street. At Anfield, I did.
Did you celebrate? Yeah. We had this conversation, didn't we, Si? That
Yes,
listen, you know what I mean? That I've got no issue in it. I think it's a natural thing to do. A team plays your wages. Imagine scoring a goal and looking to your new teammates or new supporters that you don't care, so you just walk back and just stand there, and you know what I mean? Because I've always been a big advocate of, you just never know in your career that could be your last ever goal, and if that's your last ever goal and you don't celebrate it, then it was a daft to say. I just don't get it.
I did, to be honest with you. I'd just say I did.
Emile, did you ever play in Ninian Park?
No.
Well, you'd have known about it if you had. I tell you, it was hostile.
Yeah.
Hostile place.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, it was
special. With the Liverpool move, Emile, because it happened so quick and because of the amount of money involved in the move for such a young player, did you feel like a lot of pressure from, not so much on yourself, because I'd imagine you're a professional athlete, you put pressure on yourself anyway, but from the media, obviously you're in a bigger club, you're in Merseyside, and did you feel that pressure from the outside? Or?
You know what? I didn't. Yes, you do feel the pressure. Yes, there was plenty of pressure. I didn't really no pressure on myself, because all I wanted to do was go out and play. And I didn't really feel the pressure until probably it wasn't straight away. Put it this way.
Yeah.
It was after that. Oh yeah, 11 million. Everything's 11 million. Everything's 11 million. Jesus, you got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
11 million, scoring 11 million. Like wow. But after that, I was fine with it. I come to accept it. And that when you're at the top, you're there to be shot at. And one of the things that hit home with me was Thierry Henry was doing very well at the time as well. When he came to Arsenal, he was doing very well, and he was getting criticised for, I think he was not scoring against the top 4 clubs, and I was like, huh? What are you talking about? And in the end, you're like, they're just making up stuff just to say stuff.
It's just too much. It's just disrespectful, isn't it? It's just I totally agree. Emile, I think a question which you always get asked is, about that celebration. So, you know what I mean? So explain that celebration, because I think, you know what I mean? You're not about iconic celebrations, but, you know what I mean? Anybody from a certain era are probably even to this day, to see the celebration, you always want to know why. So tell us about it.
So I've got a good friend who's a DJ. His name's DJ Spoonie, well-known DJ.
Yeah.
And basically he knows all the lads and everything. He's saying he's a big Liverpool fan. He says, this season, this is what you can do. This is your celebration for this season. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. And it was a DJ celebration. Okay, cool. And then I end up going and having a great season. We win the treble, and then you know, I scored 21 goals that season as well. So it becomes iconic. Then I go and score against the last goal in the 5-1 against England against Germany. Sorry, and it makes it even more. So yeah.
But I think that it moves on nicely. I think to playing for England. That game alone was iconic, wasn't it? You know what I mean? The going over to Germany and sorry, Si, do you can switch off now if you want this bit.
Yeah, no, I'm all right.
Been a Welshman.
I'm all right.
Going over to Germany and winning
go watch the
5-1,
Euros,
you know mate. Obviously, golden generation, Emile. You know what I mean? We spoke to Adrian Bevington about his highlights and your era, your group. You know what I mean? Coming through the 21s with the young Rio, etc., and Stevie Gerrard and Michael and yourself and David Beckham. You know what I mean? Tell everybody how exciting that golden generation was.
Do you know what? It was fun. It was fun because obviously I'd come through with Rio, Lamps, yourself, Michael, Kieran Dyers, you name them. They all came through with us, Cara. And it was just an exciting time. And then obviously you go into the first team and you got the Bexes. I was lucky. I actually, when I first got in there, Gaza was still there. Tony Adams, players like that.
Yeah.
So it was just wonderful times to be around England. And that golden generation, obviously, that was a label that was put onto us. But
fairly, unfairly?
Well, because we were playing at the top, we were young, playing at the top of our games, and we were top of at top clubs. But again, you've still got to blend quite well, haven't you? You got you coming from Middlesbrough, me coming from Leicester.
In a short space of time.
Is it 10 days?
Right,
10 days or something like that.
Yeah, if that's sometimes you got to try and get a relationship. Yeah.
It's difficult, and then I don't know if you remember our age group. I think I'm a little bit older than you, so my age group. I'll just go from my age group is Henri, Anelka, Trezeguet, William Gallas, Mikel Silvestre, Usman Darbo, Willy Sagnol, and then you add Zidane, Vieira, Petit, Perez, Wiltor, Lizarazu, Barthez, Thuram,
Laurent
Blanc.
That is some team.
Players, who actually has the golden generation? Who actually won stuff?
Yeah, totally agree.
You know, we in our age group we finished third in the Euros, and France was top. So again, it's who really had the golden generation. We obviously got labelled that, and fairly unfairly, it's something that was stuck with us. We've dealt with pressure, so it shouldn't have been any more pressure than what we're having to deal with. So it's just that we didn't manage to get that little bit more out of ourselves to blend as much as I would love to.
But like you said there, though, I think it's unfair sometimes that you look at some other clubs and countries who get a little bit more time to prepare because they have winter breaks and things. So they, you know what I mean. So they meet up a little bit longer before major tournaments. And England have never really done that. You know that I think people don't understand that you finish a game on a Saturday, you'll travel straight away on the Sunday. Some people won't meet up until the Monday or the Tuesday because of Sunday games, Monday games, and it's all a little bit disjointed. You'll play a couple of days later. You won't have had many training sessions together, and it's just it's difficult. And if you're not in the squad for a couple of times or meetups, it's so disappointing, because you said about your relationship with Michael Owen that's not done overnight. That's not done over a couple of days. It's done over a long period of time. And if it wasn't for club football, if it wasn't for international football, regular international football, those kind of relationships and partnerships would never have come around. And I'll use the David Beckham and the Gary Neville one. You know what I mean? They did it for club. They then did it for country. You know what I mean? So, and that's just the same thing as you and Michael Owen and other players, because it's a natural progression. And thankfully, as a country, we achieved quite a lot and a high amount over probably a short period of time. And it was just pleasing to be a player at the time and a fan as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to wrap us up then, I'm going to just go reel off some of these questions which have been patiently waiting in the chat for you, Emile. So, where do we start? I marked down the time because there's so many. Okay, so Rob asked, what's next for Emile Heskey? Punditry, management, DJ?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing the punditry, which is good, because again I get to speak about games. I get to have my input again, because again it's something that I've known from since the age of 9. I started at 9 being at Leicester, so it's nice to actually still be in and around it. Like you, Andy, I've done a bit of I'm studying now with UEFA, which is a master's course for directors. To allow you to be director. I'm studying that with UEFA while doing the punditry. I haven't done any DJing, so can't say that.
We just did some on the podcast, mate, so it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that counts. Next question was, who do you think is going to go up from the Championship?
Well, it looks like Leeds and West Brom at this moment in time. Out of the, do you know who I like? I quite like Brentford.
Yeah.
Maybe in the playoffs, I don't know. It looks like Leeds and West Brom will probably go up automatic.
We do the Championship show on a Friday, and we've done it. Basically, this is how we started the podcast. We did a Championship until lockdown, and we've had live guests on. But Ben Rama, Ollie Watkins, Brentford are an absolute joy. Absolute joy to watch. Yeah. And part of me really wants Brentford to go up, because I want to see those kind of players in the Premier League, but I want to see them in the Premier League for Brentford, because my worry for Brentford will be if they get promoted, or if they don't get promoted, that those kind of players are just going to disperse and go here, there and everywhere, because they're too good to be in the Championship, in my opinion, and they deserve an opportunity in the Premier League, and you know what I mean? So I do hope for them they go up, but then at the same time, Leeds, West Brom, Fulham, no one's got the divine right to go up, obviously.
Forest still in there.
Forest, Cardiff clinging on with their fingernails to a playoff place. I don't think it's going to happen. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to face Brentford in the playoffs. I'd rather play Leeds. Favourite stadium you've played at, Richie asked.
Anfield and Filbert Street. Filbert Street was actually a horrible stadium. I don't know what it must have been. It felt a horrible stadium for away fans to come to, away players to come to be honest with you. So,
yeah. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy place to go. It was. It seemed like everything was on top of you. It was.
It wasn't a nice. You come to some stadiums, it seems nice. I don't think Filbert Street was nice.
But even the changing rooms, that you go to all the big ones and everything's open space, loads of room. It was all tight, and you try and fit 20 players plus staff and big massive kit boxes and stuff in a small environment. It just doesn't really work, and it's sometimes mental more than anything to get yourself ready for the game. But it was always it was my first memory of reserve team football. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. Never forget it. Never forget it.
John asked, what was it like? I think someone else asked the same question. What was it like to smash Germany 5-1 in Germany and get on the score sheet?
It was great. If you remember, we lost the last game at the old Wembley, didn't we? Didi Hamann free kick. So that was disappointing. I think it was it Keegan's last game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Keegan's last game.
Yeah, he resigned after that. So it was a disappointing one, and then to go there and be 1-0 down after 7 minutes or 8 minutes wasn't good. But it was Sven's first game, and Sven, with all due respect to him, he was very good. He tactically he was spot on, because he would have you in a place where you knew exactly what he wanted from you and what they were going to do and all that stuff. And then you just we were lucky in a sense that we had Michael on there as well. So I think it was the first goal was Nick Barmby heading the ball back to him, the volley, and Stevie G scoring that volley as well. But I think that was key as well, because that was just before half time. And as you know, If you go in half-time 1-1, you're okay. If you go in 2-1 down, I think mentally we had them. And then you come out and score again. They're key moments in games.
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes of the game, then just before half-time, just after half-time, and the end of the game. And they were the key moments that we scored.
Andy's dad again asked, he said...
It's all over it here. Never comes on Emile, by the way, so he must be his favourite.
He said, do you see any of Brian Clough in Martin O'Neill's management style?
Loads.
What a question that is.
Absolutely.
Old school,
loads.
my dad. Oh, you see, my dad's now your hero, Emile. He just asks the best questions ever.
I think the funny thing is you'll see the same, because obviously they're copying Martin in Neil Lennon and and Lambert. It's Paul Lambert, isn't it?
Yeah, Paul Lambert.
Yeah. You'll see the same in them as well, because they're copying Martin. So all the stuff that they're doing, you're like, wow, he's a spitting image of Martin. But yeah, and then Martin's obviously copied Cloughy.
But I think that happens, doesn't it? Because I think a lot of managers, Mark Hughes, Steve Bruce, they use obviously Sir Alex as Brian Robson did it. They use obviously Sir Alex's traits, like the way he trains, the way he gets other coaches to do a lot of things, and they take a step back, and if it works, you know what I mean. If you can't learn from the best of the best, then you know what I mean. You can't, and you don't deserve to be a manager, do you? Sometimes.
I think you've got to pick the best bits from each manager that you've had. Again, some of the stuff that Martin did won't work necessarily now because you can't do it. Because you can't be screaming at people in their faces and telling him effing this and telling him that, and you've got to tailor that down. And now, and before we'd have a dressing down and we'd know that we have to go out there and perform better because to get the manager back on your side. But now you give someone a dressing down, you've lost that person for a good couple of months because they don't want to play with you again.
Yeah, totally agree. You've probably got a discrimination case against you. You're getting investigation because, listen, there's nothing wrong with somebody having a go at you in the right possible way, and that's a player. You know what I mean? Because what happens in the change room stays in the change room. You know, you mentioned Nigel Pearson earlier on. Nigel was obviously my captain at Middlesbrough. You know, he used to scare me when I first walked into that football club. He was scary, big, strong. He was intimidating. But you know what? When he talked, everyone listened, and when he give a telling off, he give it, and you understood, but you knew it wasn't personal. But when he give you praise, don't get carried away with it as well, because because you're only as good as your last game, and if things don't go the way that you want it to go, then you're going to get told off very quickly. So you know what I mean. For me, it probably is good that it comes out of the game a little bit, but it also needs to stay in the game a bit because people need to be told in the right manner what's right and wrong.
Yeah. It's how to do it as well, though. It's how you do it, because again, they just won't. They won't accept half of the time the way you say it. It's how you deliver it, and because again, them can't handle it.
Yeah, totally agree.
So, just to finish off the show before I kind of go into my spiel and stuff to finish, I wanted to know if either one of you really ever met Jack Charlton, and if you did, what memories you had of him after he sadly passed away this week. Andy, go you first.
I didn't directly meet him. Obviously, being a Middlesbrough boy, he managed Middlesbrough, so I've got good memories, obviously from my dad and things that obviously. And I hear all the good things he's done, and I think that made me become an Ireland fan when they went to the World Cup in Italia '90 because of links with Bernie Slaven, because Bernie went there as a player as well, and Bernie was my idol and my hero, and Big Jack was a manager, and I followed him ever since. And obviously, really, really sad news, you know, that he obviously lost his life and things. But I think sometimes we forget how good he was and how talented he was. You know what I mean, as a player, which obviously never really got the opportunity to watch him because of eras and age and things, but. As a manager, to go at that World Cup in Italy, Italia '90, against some world-class players and teams, by the way, he achieved something which he should be very proud of himself, and the players that he took there also should be proud, because they massively, probably overachieved, but he got the best out of them, and he needs to take huge credit for that.
Yeah. For myself, I never got to meet him, to be honest. But again, like I think what Andy is saying there, we tend to forget about a lot of our ex England internationals and everything that some of the wonderful things that they've done and how they played and how they expressed themselves on the pitch and everything and how good they actually were. And we forget very quickly, and we only really remember when they're actually passing away, which is sad.
There's not many brothers, is there? Not many brothers who play for the country together. You know what I mean? Big Jack and Bobby. Neville's. You know, the unbelievable talents to play. You know what I mean? Phil and Gary Neville done it. You know what I mean? I don't know how many others have done it. So, you know what I mean? It's an unbelievable achievement. So, you know what I mean? He's God rest his soul. You know, he's going to be a huge loss. And I think Leeds did a nice tribute on Sunday. By wearing t-shirts and then getting 3 points for him in the last minute against the Swans, so it was that was pleasing for various reasons. But it's nice sometimes that the fans, you know what I mean. And Leeds have had a really, really bad year. We're losing some of their big old players' names as well. You know what I mean. I know Hunter obviously died earlier on in the year as well. So you know what I mean. We're losing a lot of people at the minute within football and just in general, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Emile, thank you ever so much for joining us, mate. I really appreciate your time.
It's been amazing, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been an amazing show. Absolutely loved it.
Could have sat here and spoken to you for another 4 or 5 hours. It was so interesting, and it was really fun as well. Guys, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who's commented, asked questions, shared the show, etc. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. A special thank you to Black Diamond Sports, as ever, and Martin, and of course Bespoke Financial for the sponsorship and supporting the show. Andy, as usual, my man, thank you.
Pleasure.
And we will see you Friday live, 7 o'clock for the championship show. And check out A.C.E Podcast Nation this week, because there's about 1 million shows coming out with loads of top guests on all different sports and shows. But in the meantime, Emile Heskey, thank you very much, sir. And
thanks, guys. Take care.
And we'll see you next week.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
To be a hero, a superhero, breakthrough. It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City.
Indeed.